Okay, so welcome everybody to our Cyberops class for this week. I'm going to do a couple things. First off, remember, class does officially end. I'm gonna look up here on my thing. Hold on, it's underneath under my other stuff. Make sure you get the date right. May 5th. All right, so our official class end date is May 5th. However, again, I'm not going to turn off your NetCAD or NetLabs access on that day. Just be aware that it is going to end and you will need to start the process of getting finished up. As part of that, part of finishing up is obviously completing the labs, chapter test, and the written final, which is way down here, final exam. So you do need to do the course feedback and then the final. In fact, if anybody happens to need it, I'm going to go in and make sure the course feedback is on at the moment, which I think it already is. Let's see, course feedback should be on. Yep, and it expires on May 14th, and the final exam is on, expiring on May 6th. So you've got time, and you can do both of those now. I did put in a practice final exam, totally optional. If you want to, that's fine. And you do have access to this certification practice exam, which is available for you to get ready for your actual cert exam. Remember, you need to make a 70 or higher on the final exam in order to get your discount voucher. So make sure you do that to get yourself a 70% discount voucher on the Cyberops exam. Next thing I want to do is Joseph had a very good request last week on looking at some of these programs in a little more in depth and kind of showing you how things are working. So what I'm going to do today, first off, I did send out some videos for you that were very useful. But I'm going to actually work through two labs real quickly. I'm actually going to look at, first off, this 27214, which is looking at and isolating a compromised host using the 5 tuples. Now, can anybody tell me what the 5 tuples are? Anybody remember the 5 tuples?
Aren't those the addresses and ports?
Yep. So it's basically your source IP, your source port, it's your destination IP, destination port,
protocol,
and then basically your transport protocol. Yep, transport protocol. So whatever is up above that at that layer. Now, this particular lab doesn't show just those. It actually goes through, and by the way, I've been called a Squeal, but it's Squeal. Yeah, go figure. But we're going to use Security Onion. Now, what is Security Onion? Everybody knows what this is, right? How many of you are familiar with Kali Linux and those flavors of Linux that are built for cybersecurity? Are y'all familiar with those? Security Onion basically is just the same thing that's been built for analysis. It's been built for security analysis. This is not the most up-to-date version of Security Onion. So we do end up having some issues here in terms of not all the tools are exactly what you'd use in the real world. You know, Gail and I talked last week. Did Gail show up? She may have. Yep, Gail showed up. Gail and I talked week before last about how a lot of these tools are not the latest and greatest. We are working in the state of North Carolina on a project called the Carolina Cyber Network, where we're trying to get access to a true cyber ranges that are out there. And I think we're gonna, range, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's range force is maybe the one we're going with. I don't remember exactly which one, but we're gonna have access to a real range with some real tools. But the Squeal here is a tool designed to let you look at all of the different devices on your network and bring them all into one part. So it's basically, it's a SIM tool. It's a security event and management system that you can use in the real world. Now, again, most people would probably use a tool that was more of a corporate tool, but I don't know. I mean, free is for me. But I'm gonna go through and select all, start Squeal. You know, I'm pronouncing it correct now, but Squeal. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at in this particular lab. By the way, I'm looking at lab 27214. So if you want to go get that content and download it, you can. But here's the content. So I'm going to walk through this and just show you what they're doing in the lab. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to look for it's called GPL attack response return root. And that is just showing you that a host got root access or attempted to get root access on a particular device. So we click here. By the way, how do these events get into Squeal? Anybody know?
Isn't it from all different utilities that the company is using?
Exactly. All different utilities, all different devices that are set up to send their information into Squeal. And then Squeal presents it to you in this interface so that you can interact with it. Get anybody else? What are some other interfaces? Gail, what are some that you've worked with in the past that you've seen? Yeah, I'm gonna lean on your knowledge because we I know.
Interfaces as in
Like what other tools have you used that do the same thing as Squeal? Corporate, or I guess for pay tools.
oh, okay. Well, like we have we used to use a tool called ArcSight. It's
Okay.
really more of a sim than
Okay.
you know, just the solely. And so, but then at the same time we would have like, oh gosh, when I first started, we had homegrown tools. So imagine guys, you know, like having spreadsheets or, you know, different, like I was really good at writing scripting at that time where we pulled all the stuff in together by itself. But then like I said, we use Security Onion a little bit at the RCERT, but mostly, you know, being the federal government, we had a real true SIM.
Right.
There's another one. I didn't get to use it. It starts with red. I can't remember the name of it.
ArcSight was one of them you used.
Yeah, ArcSight. It's actually a true SIM tool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's in. Yeah. So here's ArcSight's webpage. So basically, looking at that kill chain. But if you look, honestly, look at some of the way it looks. It is similar in terms of the way it looks to what we have. Let me show the actual screen here. Where's it at? There. Yeah. Well, there it is. But basically, it's the ability to do the same thing. So we can go in and look at different events. But again, we have to go on the cheap. So we got Security Onion and Squeal. I couldn't imagine doing it with just spreadsheets. That would be insane.
And when I first started, that's how we did it.
But you got really good at doing doing grep on
Analytics
files.
box, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's still that was you still need to be able to do that type of stuff anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, but that was the one that I have probably the most experience in. I mean, there are a lot of others, you know, like SolarWinds. Now, SolarWinds back when I was doing this didn't have the SIM that they have. It was mostly just the networks.
Right.
But we did use SolarWinds to look at the networks. Now SolarWinds has a full, you know, security event manager that you can use. But I don't have any experience in using it.
And you know, SolarWinds, as everyone knows, was the subject of a terrible attack this past year, where they were compromised. And it was funny because one of the guys that works with me, his old job called him up and thanked him for being lazy because he had not updated SolarWinds to the latest version, and so their actual system was not compromised. So they were like, "Hey, this is the one time you really helped us out," and we kind of laugh about it. But you know, they didn't update, and they were not susceptible, which is
sure.
That was a bad one.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, some of the ones that we've heard in this class, I think at one point, and I can't pinpoint which chapter it was, but they talked about things like Splunk,
Yep.
which is another SCIM. McAfee has one now. Off the top of my head, those are the key ones. Rapid7, but yeah.
I'm trying to think if I'm trying to remember who we talked about. No, that's not it. It definitely is not that one because that one's a little bit. But I'm trying to remember who we talked to, and I got a demo with their cyber range because they actually had Splunk in the cyber range, and you could use a full version, which is very nice. And I cannot remember who it was, but oh well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Security Onion is great. Obviously, I have personal friends. I mean, I know the developer or the the person who birthed it, I guess, very
Right.
well, and then all the guys who work for him. But one of the challenges that I do know with it, just to let everybody know, is they historically have had problems scaling Security Onion. Now, my understanding is that they were working on that, and
Right.
they're actually coming out with Security Onion appliances now, as opposed to just the software.
Gotcha.
But so I don't know exactly where they're at with that. I'm trying to get them to give our school one of their appliances. Anyway,
Oh, that would be nice.
so
Yeah, I think it was actually Cyberbit is one of the ones that we're talking to with their range. And they've got pretty amazing, pretty good range. But you've got the entire range is built up to where you can do basically curated learning paths, and here again is some of the tools they've got that we should have access to eventually. But Splunk, Checkpoint, McAfee's going to be there. You will be able to pivot into the Palo Alto stuff, pull logs out of it, because they got Palo Alto firewalls and all. So I'm kind of looking forward to this, because we'll be able to use some of the more real world tools. Although Security Onion is a real world tool, I mean, it is definitely used. So, but like we were saying, Joseph, you were asking about, well, here's the attack. Basically, here's the alert that got fired, saying that it returned root. So something has been, playing in the world of root here. You can go in, and if you go to the ID and you go to the transcript, you can actually look at a more detailed here, and you can see source and destination IP address, source 17, destination 235. And you can see that somebody put in here, got logged in, and they're putting in who am I and your root. And so then they did an if config. All right. By the way, with Metasploitable, that pretty much, then they're doing if config to see what the IP address is, which in this case they're on 235. They catted the shadow file, and then on down, so on and so forth, and then tried to actually pull the shadow file down. And so this shows you that someone has accessed root on that device, which is obviously fairly important. You also, when they talk about pivoting, you can actually look at this same attack and right click and go down here to Wireshark, and it's going to take and pop this PCAP open, or pop open a PCAP, and show you the actual communication. You can right click on here and go to follow the TCP stream, and then you get the exact same thing again, but you're seeing it, in a different tool, looking at it through the what was captured in the PCAP. So this would be, if you're a level 1 analyst and you saw something like this, you would escalate and say, hey, why is there access to this being created over over the net, first off, and also who's trying to do this? Because obviously I would go looking at that 217, if I'm looking at source and destination, I'd be looking at this 201.17, trying to decide, if is that machine compromised, who is that, what are they doing, should they have access to 235 as root, should they be on there as root, which obviously they more than likely shouldn't. The other thing we've got on here now, that is Squeal. Okay, so we took Squeal, we found an event, we looked at it, found what the rule was, we then pivoted into Wireshark, took a look at inside of there. This lab also has you use Kibana, and I'm not as good with this as I am with others, but this is basically a tool that puts like a visual front to Elasticsearch or Elastic files or log files. And we're going to log in here so that you can look at them in a pretty little GUI. And in this particular case, because we are dealing with VMs that were created some time ago, okay, we are going to have to change our values for when these things were actually caught. And in fact, you need to be careful when you do your hands-on final for this class, because let's say you step away for too long, you actually will have the logs clear out and you won't see what you need to see. So when you start your hands-on final for this, and you're doing it, make sure you know, don't leave it sitting for a long time. Otherwise you could end up with problems. But we can go in here and we can do an absolute range. And for this particular lab, they want you to do just June of 2020. So we just have to click in here and go back to June, and we can go back to June 1st till back to June 30th. So we're just going to look for events that are in the month of June. And we'll go through here and we'll see different types of log files when it eventually finishes up. You can see these different log types, bro. Now, why is it saying bro? Does anybody know what bro is? Bro is Zeek. Bro is the name of Zeek before they changed it to Zeek. And Zeek is another program that's available that we have. In fact, I have some Zeek is a security monitoring open source tool. I have some good labs I'm going to add to your class that are Zeek labs that were created by the University of South Carolina. So we'll add those into here. So if you want to play with some Zeek stuff, you can. But what they're doing in this next section is they're having you go look for a file called confidential.txt that was stolen or taken. And so what they want you to do is to go in here and actually expand just the bro FTP files. So we do this here, and I'll be quite honest.
Is that 136 like alerts, or is it, what does the 136 represent?
That was the number of total logs that were logged due to an alert or some event. Yes, that's right. So now I've got it down to just 2 because we're looking at just the FTP logs now. But yes, that was the events that had for some reason fired off a sensor warning. So if we scroll down, all right, come on down here, it asks you what the source and destination of the FTP traffic was. So if we keep coming down here, we should find it eventually down here. Come on, there it is. So there's your source IP is 192.168.0.11. Destination was 209.165.200.235. All right. Now you also
when you select that particular file, then it fine tunes it down into the actual more in depth into the information.
Exactly. Yep. Once you expand this, now you're digging down deeper into this particular alert. So we're seeing more information about it, exactly when it took place. We're seeing down here what type of item it was, the destination IP, the source IP. In this case, you can see the source IP was, this is actually the reverse. It looks like it was the return trip on this one. We can actually look, should be able to look right here and pull up Uncap Me, which I have. I actually have a CapMe is just a web interface for your PCAP files, but here it says pulled up. And what you're seeing here is you can see that a user named Analyst logged in with a password of Cyberops and then requested a file. So you're now seeing that the file was, successfully downloaded via FTP. So now you know that the file has actually been exfiltrated or has been accessed on your network. So let's go back up here and let's go up to here. Look for FTP. Should look at FTP data. I actually need to go to files now. So we'll go to files. Give it a second. It's not the fastest thing on the planet, but it does work. And then you can look at the different types of files that are in here. You can see that there were text plain text files, images that were downloaded. And if you dug on down in here, you actually could dig down and you'll eventually find out when this was the data or the actual file was exfiltrated, and you can even, if it's not encrypted, see what is in the particular file. So this is an instance of what you were talking about in your question, Joseph, and that is, here's how we can take these different tools inside of Security Onion and use those tools to look at different attacks that have taken place on the network. So one tool obviously is Squeal, and then we can use that and we can pivot using, Wireshark network and, Bro. I mean, I can pull it up in Bro and it gives you just a basic, information here, which is
What was that network miner? What is that tool? I've seen that usually. What do they utilize that for?
Network miner is just another tool that will dig in and show you information from the PCAP. I think it's another type of file, but it does it in a little, see how it's a little more detailed view here. So you can pull it out and we can look at this and see information about the source. So it's really detailed about the different information here. If there are any files that were removed or messages, but most of it, it shows you the more detailed networking information about the device in a clean little interface. So, and there's, it's another one of our tools that lets us carve out data.
I believe there is a lab that actually, I remember using it in one of the, I don't remember which
Yep.
one.
There is a lab. I think I needed to show you all this anyway, because I want to show you where to do your final. Your hands-on final, by the way, is a skills assessment. I think there is one. Yeah, I don't remember which one it is, but it's one of these that it may, I don't think it's that one. Nope, that's just PCAP. Yeah, there is one of the labs that uses it, but I can't remember.
Yeah, when we used it for NetMiner, we used that for the lab. It actually, you used it for the file tab, and it actually gave you the file that was extracted. And
Right.
I think there was a hash with it, and you had to unhash it and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we've got, in fact, what I want to do now, there's Kibana again looking at the attack. So there's another set of it. What I want to actually do now, though, is go back to this other lab that I was doing and show you again the same thing, but it's we're going to use this one, and this one, I don't think that wasn't Network Miner I used to grab that, was it? No, that was all Kibana. So this is one looking at HTTP traffic and DNS traffic, or actually DNS exfiltration. So let's log in here. Oops. Okay, and we're going to look at again, the lab itself wants you to go look at the different Security Onion portions and make sure they're running. So you open up a terminal and you can sudo so status, and it gives you Security Onion status after you put in the password. You can see the different, all the pieces are running. So Squeal's running, PCAP agents running, Snort agents running, Barnyard, and Elasticsearch. So all those are running. Those were not running, you wouldn't be able to perform this lab. So they basically have you looking at those because those are the different parts. And Gail, does make sense the fact that they may have trouble with Security Onion scaling, because you got to think about, we can throw a bunch of, we can throw all the processor memory we want at it, but is the system itself built to handle the loads from large environments? Because you could see, if you were downloading a large, or actually monitoring a large amount of different devices, you could get an enormous amount of traffic coming into one of these boxes in a hurry. So again, we've got to do the same thing. We got to set our absolute time to be June of 2020. And we'll let that keep going there. So any questions you can think of while this is loading? Can't promise you I'll know the answer.
You get the timestamp from the Squeal, right?
Correct. Or well, it's actually from the device that logs it. So that is an important thing. Make sure that all your devices on your network should be running some type of time server that ensures they have the correct time and date on them. Otherwise, garbage in, garbage out. You know, whatever that IDS feeds into Squeal is what it gets. Now, it may go into Squeal with a certain date, but you'll still have the wrong timestamp based upon where it came from. So that's a good point, excellent point, that you've got to make sure those things are actually correct. So now we're going to go in here and look at HTTP, because we're going to look at HTTP data and try to just look at how things are. Some traffic here. So it takes a few seconds to load.
Now that the little blip on the graph, they made you do something where you had to open it up or something. What is it? What is it that you just see the little, it's like the little green dot on the log
Here.
count over time on go over to the right to the 22.
Here.
Up, right, go, yeah. The
Oh, right
little
here.
blip. Yeah,
Oh, I
little,
see the green dot. Yeah, it's because I just did 1 month. See, it's just, that's because that's where it's in the June. I've only got that 1 month, so that's why.
In the lab, what they're trying to have you do is to expand it so that the
Yeah, that was
scaling is
tricky.
different. That's what they're
Oh,
doing. And
this-
and yes, it is, it's tricky on
Oh, it's
the
tricky.
NDG.
There.
If you were running Security Onion on, because I've had to do that on Security Onion with a bare on a bare metal machine, you know, where we're running Security Onion on the machine,
Right.
and it's not as hard. But yeah, it was tricky on the NDG to grab the right section. I
Yeah.
kept losing sections, and so I wouldn't get, you know, I'll say the right answer, but like I knew I didn't have the right answer because I knew what the start time was, and now all of a sudden I had lost the start time.
Right. And that's just a function of this interface, which I will tell you something that might help you is you can actually undock these. And maybe they'll get a little bigger for you, at least for you to be able to see, not necessarily to be able to, you know, the screen in here is not going to get any bigger. You could, though, try to change the resolution if you wanted to. Just be careful, because sometimes I can get you in trouble too. So we scroll down here to our HTTP logs, and you'll notice that I think I need to unclick on that and then come out here. Yeah, I clicked on I did wrong. I clicked on the whole thing, so now I got to get back out to my full logs.
yeah, that was the challenge. Once you did that thing with the dot, you got lost.
Yep, and just had to go back and try to
Restart.
reset it. That hopefully will reset back to my count. Or not. Okay, so now I got to get rid of this. Yeah, now I see what you're talking about. Oops.
I think the best thing might be to reset the timestamp. Sometimes that, you know.
Yeah, because I went from June 12th to June. Yeah, there we go. That'll fix it. Yeah, I'd actually reset the timestamp based on what I'd done. So, all right, now I'll go to HTTP. All right. And now we can go down and look at the different types of events under HTTP. And we'll get, if we scroll down here, we'll see the source destination IP address 227 going to 235. And then on down, we should see these are the content that was actually sent between the two. And then on down, we should see under the logs here, first 10 events, which are, where they at? They should be down here if I get down here far enough. All right, where'd you go? There it is. Okay, so your first 10 events here. And so if I expand this first one, you can see when it took place. You can see the event type, which is a bro, which is a Zeek type. That just means it's Zeek. Scroll on down. You see here's something that's interesting that should get your attention immediately. You can see this was a Zeek event, and you'll notice it's seeing things such as username equals union select CC number. And so you're looking at CCV. What is a CCV?
Isn't that your security code on your credit card?
Exactly. So somebody's trying to do something with security information on on credit cards. So we can go back up in here and we can drill down under the ID. We can drill down on it. And we'll open up a CAPNY file, which again is just a web interface to look at a PCAP file. And you can see again how someone is trying to get, and they're using these usernames, trying to get the password. They're trying to do what looks like a SQL injection. And if you scroll down, see, somebody's playing with there, but scroll on down, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the section. I just had to do a Control F. You can see that as you move down here and it finds username, the machine actually returns some usernames. It returns this 44, 444, 111, 42s, 43s, and it continues to return usernames, which means that more than likely this SQL, this injection overflow returned usernames for this attack, which is what they're trying to get you to see. All right. So that is using Kibana to take a peek at a SQL injection. And then this one I thought was really cool. And that is going and looking at, let's go all the way back up here, looking at DNS extraction and exfiltration, because this is something that's is starting to happen, because you can hide things in DNS and you really can't turn off DNS. So we've got our date set. Let's go to DNS. And we'll notice that in this DNS, there's 22 different log counts, the things that have been logged into Security Onion by the different devices connected. And as you look, you will see that you can scroll down and see what kind of queries there have been. There have been, reverse lookups and A records, some server fails here. Those things are going on. Keep scrolling down. You can actually see your top clients and whether or not there are any phishing attempts, any that have been seen. You can see what is 8844? Anybody know?
DNS server?
It is a DNS server, but if I'm not mistaken, that's one of Google servers. I know 8888 is one of theirs.
Right.
I think 8844 is also one of Google's DNS servers. So let's see. There's a query. Okay. So we're going to go back up here and we're going to do a search for just example.com, because that was one that showed up in one of the queries, and we're going to see if we can't figure out exactly what's going on with it. Should get just 4 on this one.
So they're sneaking something into the query. Is that what they're trying to do?
They're actually using DNS to move things. Yes, they're using it to exfiltrate. So you can actually go in here and you can pull this out now. So let's see, you right click on it.
So that's not what a normal query would look like?
It may be a normal query. Well, first off, you had those 4 failures where there was a failure. And that was kind of something that gives you an idea that something took place, because there was a failure. So let me go back up. Let me go back up here. Let's get rid of this. All right. Let that update. All right, so see there are 22 DNS entries. If we go down here, we'll see that we had, there's our DNS servers, there's the ones being queried. And first off, my question would be, I would try to find out, is this server even running DNS, this 235, okay? And then you go on down and you will see the domains that are being queried, things are being queried. Where was that error message at that I saw? There it was, serve failed. So there are 4 messages and there are 4 A record lookups. And so something's going on, you know, and I go down and look, there's 4 messages. So I'm going to figure, and I could actually click and look at that, but I'm going to figure that that's related to this server right here. Okay. And if you look down here, you can see that here is example nsexample.com. So what is this name server.example.com that we've got these 4 queries for that look like they've failed? So we'll go back up here, and that's where we get this, how we figured out that we're going to use example.com. Well, that and the fact they tell us in the book. But if you were searching for it, you would go, you know, what's going on here? We're then going to dig into the actual there we go. Oh, I didn't have to click that button. We get down here and here's something that gives away kind of this. Look at this really, really long domain name. Do you know of any website that is 43, 4F, 4E, 464, blah, blah, et cetera, .ns.example.com? No, you may have www.cheese.com or www.stanley.edu, but this is very unusual. In fact, looking at it, it looks like hex. And so now we're going to try to figure out if we can make this or figure out what this is. So we're going to export it as raw data, which gives us this DNS query. We got to go in here now and we got to get rid of some stuff in it because we can now edit this, open with, I'm just going to do gedit. And we're going to leave, we're going to get rid of everything except for what looks like the hex code. So we're going to get rid of all of this because we're thinking there
What
may
is
be
gedit? What is that? It's just a viewer?
just a
What,
text
like
editor, just text editor.
like a notepad or something?
Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. So save, and then now we're going to close this. And I was lazy. I did it this way instead of doing it the way they said in the book or in the text. I went into the downloads folder. You can see there's the DNS query file. So now there's a program we can run to actually interpret the hex, and we're going to output it to a file called secret.txt.
So is that a hash? Is that what that is?
No, it's a that's P, not D. It's just hexadecimal that is being now converted to ASCII. Oh, what did I do wrong? All right, let me try this again.
Are you sure you're in the right directory?
Yep, I'm in
Okay.
I'm in that one. Actually,
All
it
right.
did it. It did it
Okay.
that time.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yep. It just didn't want to. No, it didn't do it. So let's do this. xxd-r-p DNS. I'll put it to secret.txt. And now it should work. Cat secret. There it is.
Yeah.
So this, what just got put back together was that hexadecimal, was a document in hexadecimal. And that was trying to be exfiltrated via DNS queries. So they were able to use DNS using that super long. And again, when we go back over here, what kind of gives it away is this long header information. But this would let you exfiltrate using DNS information, which is kind of scary because can you turn off DNS? No. Well, you can, but you'll have a mess on your network if you do. So
Oh, you just have to remember a lot of IP addresses.
a whole lot of IP address. We go back to the days when you just used the text file, you know, the host file on your local machine. All joking aside, though, one thing that is important is that next generation firewalls, they look for this. They look for something like this, and that's why they'll fire a warning off and start to either block it or give you information about it so that you can make an assumption on your network. Or not an assumption, but make a check on your network and see what's happening. So that was really a couple examples of the different tools that are on this particular flavor of Security Onion that we have that can be used to do analysis on the network or on different things that are available. Any questions about those, about that? I hope that was helpful, because it really helped me to go back through them again and look at it and just, you know, review those tools and to kind of get an idea. And sometimes the same tools do the same thing. They just do it in a slightly different way.
So based upon that type of attack, you put something in to prevent it from happening. What do you do now? Now you know what's trying to be attacked.
I give you a great example. Our firewall, our Palo Alto firewalls have a rule that will block this type of attack. They will look for it, and if they see an exceptionally long DNS query header or beginning portion, it will block it. It will actually stop that. And then it will give you a warning. You know, it will actually, go to your console, tell you whatever you're using, and then you can try to figure out what's going on. So next generation firewalls have the ability to build in rules that will actually block these types of attacks. So, all right. Any questions about that? Let me see if I've got the Zeek Labs on this particular system. I'm not sure I've got them loaded on this system right now. Content, add content. Nope, I do not. Okay, so I won't be able to give you access to the Zeek Labs right now. I can give you access on another system, but I'll have to do that later. Okay. So like I tell you, since I'm done, let's end our reservation so that becomes available for another student. And folks, that's all I've got for the day. I do want you to work towards doing your getting the class finished up. Again, we have a couple weeks left. Well, we got about 3 weeks left. Actually, a little less than 3 weeks. 2 weeks. We got about 2 weeks left. And so be working towards getting all the exams finished up, the chapter portions finished up, work on getting your skills assessment completed on NetLabs and your final exam completed. And once you finish those, let me know and I will try to check them. And then immediately I'll go in and try to accredit you so that you'll be able to teach this class as soon as you can. So I'm going to stop the recording now.